So talk to me, let's talk about digital transformation, right? So Revlon obviously, has been a very kind of historically has been a very mass distributed brand, right? That's who they are
Hmm.
as a company. And obviously during COVID, the nice part was a lot of those mass distribution points did stay open, but I also have to imagine that there was this big push to be kind of more digitally native. Did that happen? And if so, like what was that transformation like? Can you kind of walk us through it?
Yeah, for sure. It did happen. I mean, I think we saw across the board, no matter what industry you're in, that there were a lot of shifts that were happening during COVID. One of the main things, just, to start off, that we saw was a lot of changes in consumer behavior, just as it relates to the categories that were really spiking, and kind of the behavior that she was having during this time of being at home, not out as much as she's accustomed to being. And so we saw a lot more self care. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of consumers were not going to salons, as you can imagine. So that had, first and foremost, an impact on just how we saw our various categories perform. So we saw that nails was doing really well during that time. Consumers weren't going to nail salons. We saw hair color spike,
Mm-hmm.
and as you can imagine. And then we also saw some of our beauty tools really spike, just as people were more involved in self care, as I mentioned. So, with that in mind, one of the first things that we did was really focus our attention more on those categories where we were seeing growth. When it came to digital, we had adapted a lot of our brand efforts to also be more in line with what consumer behavior was. So, we wanted to adapt to the fact that she was at home. When you think about social influencers as well as e-commerce, those were all channels that we were really focused on adjusting how we communicated with our consumers. So one of the things is much more relaxed from a communication standpoint. We
Mm.
wanted to make sure that we were empathetic in our tone. We were all working from home, so we were, tapping into some of those things that, maybe we weren't doing before. So as you think about much more usage when it came to your iPhone and being on your phone and on devices in general. So we started different types of content, really focusing in on themes that were tied to the fact that consumers were at home. We had different type of edutainment. So we know that consumers were looking for some type of excitement and entertainment in their daily lives. So we focused the conversation much more to that avenue. We also did makeup challenges, hacks. We had some of our ambassadors come on board and do tutorials, just interactive type of communication, and that was something that really worked well for us. Another point I'll make is that we didn't have as much access to content, and as you think about influencers and different people that were much more easy to tap into, it was a bit of a challenge. So we also had to be creative in pulling in employees, really doing all types of things to, again, make sure that we were top of mind and a part of the conversation as consumers were yearning to really have that dialogue and interaction. Another interesting campaign that we did from an influencer perspective is hashtag but it helps. And
Mm.
so that was really tapping into the fact that it was no secret that women weren't wearing cosmetics as much as they used to. They weren't leaving their homes, and so a lot of times they just weren't necessarily wearing cosmetics like they used to. So this whole initiative was around, you don't have to wear makeup, but it definitely helps to make you feel better, because
Mm-hmm.
we know that a lot of people were also kind of in a rut of this routine, regimented type of life that we all had to adapt to. So the answer to your question is yes. We have seen lots and lots of shifts in how consumers are behaving, and we've just tried to be nimble and quick to be a part of the conversation, relevant for what consumers are, just their lives in general and how it's shifted and changed.